guys, by now you know that our class is going to be online. I'm nervous about that. We have a lot of cover, and so I needed you to watch this video ahead of time so we can jumpstart our class a little bit. If you did math with me last year, this is going to come as a review, and it should kind of click in fast. If you didn't do math with me and it comes back, great. And if not, we're going to treat this as a brand new concept and teach you what it is. And if you notice, the title of this is Imaginary Number, Complex Numbers. Because there's only one imaginary number, because people didn't have what to do with their lives and came up with a new concept. And that is the imaginary number. And that imaginary number is it's used with symbol I, okay? And I is square root of -1. You have learned this in algebra 1 and pre-algebra that you cannot have a square root that's negative. In real life situation, there's no such thing as a -16, square root of -16, okay? This is where the imaginary number comes in, that I. Because we said if we have a square root of -5, I can write this as square root of -1 times square root of 5. This is I, square root of 5, okay? You don't always have to go through this process. If you just remember and you go, okay, this negative represents the I, you can skip the step and go, the negative is I, whatever is left stays in. I'll do that here, okay, to see what I'm talking about. If you need the steps, do the steps. In this case, I have square root of -24. This negative is an I. I'm left with square root of 24. And from here on is what we did last week in class, right? This is however you want to look at this. This is either I square root of 4 times square root of 6, which is square root of 4 is 2, 2I square root of 6. Or you go, 4 and 6, 2 and 2, 2 and 3. Have two 2's, they come out. 1, 2 comes out. This stays in. Same way. But remember, when you pull that 2 out from that square root of 4 or from crossing with your little tree, remember that these 2 joins that I. Do not forget your I, okay? We generally bring the I in the front. If you write this as I2, it's fine. It might confuse you though. So I would say always bring your real number followed by imaginary number followed by your irrational numbers, okay? What happens if I have I square root of 5 all squared? Well, I'm trying to put this to where you can actually see me. We work this the exact same way we would work on a problem. That 2, that exponent gets distributed, right? So this becomes I squared times square root of 5 all squared. Well, I squared, let's think about this for a second. I is square root of -1 all squared times this 2 cancels that times 5. Well, that square will cancel. They're opposite operations, so they cancel each other. So this becomes -1 times 5 or -5. Which brings me to the second rule that I really need you to remember. First one is I is square root of -1. The second one, always, 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 I to the second power is -1. Because as we're going to work stuff in class, we're going to end up with, I don't know, 6I squared minus 3I plus 5. I need you to know that this actually becomes a real number. This becomes -1. So this is -6 minus 3I plus 5. And we get to combine these two. But we'll do this in class. The rule would be just to remember, please, I squared is always -1. So had I wanted to skip this whole step and just remember the rule, the moment that I distribute, this becomes -1. That cancels that times 5 or -5. So this is the only thing I need you to remember from 5.4. Other than, how do we possibly graph imaginary numbers? Well, not imaginary, but complex numbers. Complex numbers are numbers that are formed by a real number and an imaginary number. And you will always be in that order. You always put your real number, then your imaginary number, okay? Never, don't do this. Ever do it the right way, okay? And the way we graph this is the same way we would graph anything else, except that now we have the real number and the imaginary number axis. That's all there is to it. So 3 goes 1, 2, 3. 2I is 1, 2 on the positive. This is 3 plus 2I. They're not that hard. You would do the old style. Don't worry about the 3D stuff. -5 minus 3I. Well, -5. Oh, this is the I. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -3I. 1, 2, 3. They meet right there. This is -5 minus 3I. Okay, and 4I, if I have to mark it, it doesn't have my real number. I can put this plus 0. So I got a 0 and 4I this would be for I. So remember, horizontally, you're only going to use the first number. Vertically, you're going to use your imaginary number and you graph it. And that's all that I wanted to review with you before class today. I square root of -1, I squared -1. As soon as you see something like this, remember to write this I square root of 8, and then we reduce that square root the way we did before. I'm going to pause the video. You don't need to, but I need to erase the board and start with the next concept. Okay, awkward break for you as you watch it. The next concept we're going to talk about is in 5.6, and that is the quadratic formula. We are not doing 5.5 at all. We didn't do it last year in Algebra 1 either. Completing a square to me is just a waste of time. So you're never going to need it. Not in ACT, not in any shape or form. So we're going to talk about the quadratic formula. We had this formula down before. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a. I encouraged you last year, please use parentheses because you'll see where that it's going to help you in the future. Let's work a problem and see how do we solve this. And we use this generally when we look at a problem and go, I cannot figure this out factoring. I can't think of two numbers that times to this and add to this. Nothing can be factored out. There's nothing else I can do. We're going to use the quadratic formula. In order to solve this, 2x squared plus x equals 5, the first thing I want to do is move my 5 on the other side, because we said in order to solve something, it needs to equal 0, right? So I'm going to minus the 5 and equal it to 0. I'm skipping steps. Please, 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 for the sake of your test, for the sake of a homework, always define your A, B, and C. You're going to get points for this, okay? So my A is 2. My B is not there, so it's 1. I put it in there. And my C is -5, right? These are my numbers. And now we're going to go ahead and apply this formula and find the solutions of this problem. X equals negative b, -1, plus or minus square root of 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times, oh, this is -5, guys. -5. And all of it, please, last year we had trouble with this, if you did math with me. All of it gets divided by 2 times 2. 2 times a, okay? B, B, A, C, A, right? And this is just regular math. You can do this using a calculator easily. This becomes -1 plus or minus square root of 1. This is -8 times -5, gives me a positive 40, all over 2 times 2, which is 4. This becomes -1 plus or minus square root of 41 over 4. And now that means you have two solutions. That plus or minus is very important. Please never forget it, because remember, this is a quadratic, which means we have to have two solutions. One of them is -1 plus square root of 41 over 4. The other one is -1 minus square root of 41 over 4. The book went on and goes on and puts solutions in as decimals. Do I need them? No. If you want to do extra work and put this in a calculator and tell me what it is, that's great. If you do that, make sure the top is in parentheses all the times. If you don't, leave it here. I'm perfectly fine with it. But this is how it works. We're going to work with one more example, and then we're going to go ahead and move to the next concept. So my next problem, I'm trying to find one with an I in it. Here it is. -x squared plus 2x equals 2. Now, the book solves it a little bit different. I will solve it my way, which means I don't like that to be negative ever. So instead of moving the 2 on this other side, I'm going to move both of them this way. Plus x squared minus 2x plus x squared minus 2x. So that becomes x squared minus 2x plus 2 equals 0. I don't like my leading coefficient to be negative. You wouldn't get different results if you keep it negative. You'll get the exact same results. So again, homework test, define your terms. A is 1, there's nothing in front of it. B is -2, C is 2. Okay, let's go ahead and do the math on this. X equals, we're using this formula, -2. This is why I said always keep your B in parentheses, because that way you can see this negative is not that negative. Plus or minus square root of -2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 2. All over 2 times 1. Let's see what we get. -2 becomes a positive 2. Plus or minus square root of -2 squared is 4 minus 4 times 1, -4 times 2, -8. All over 2. this becomes 2 plus or minus square root of negative 4 over 2. That's a negative 4. That comes to 2 plus or minus I square root of 4 over 2. What's square root of 4, guys? 2, right? So this becomes 2 plus or minus 2i over 2. At this point, you can look at it very fast and notice that one of them would be 2 plus 2i over 2. This can all be reduced. You can factor 2 out, so this becomes 1 plus I. Why? 2 divided by 2, 1. 2i divided by 2i, right? The other one is 2 minus 2i over 2. 2 divided by 2, 1 minus 2i divided by 2i. So I have a 1 plus I and a 1 minus I as solutions. This is how they always work. If we do square roots or if we do imaginary numbers, remember your real rational number comes first, your irrational or your imaginary number comes second. And we'll do more in class, but this is the other thing I need you to remember about this. Let me pause. You don't need to. You're going to continue watching, but I pause so I can erase. Okay, the next concept we're going to talk about is the concept of the determinant. And we said that this is this little particular, not determinant, guys, it's the, oh my gosh, it's a discriminant. Determinant is what the matrix is, okay? Discriminant. And that is the b squared minus 4ac, the number that you have under that square root. We're not using the square root, we're just using the b squared minus 4ac, okay? And you have 3 different options. If that number is greater than 0, you get 2 real solutions. If that number is equal to 0, you have 1 real solution. And if that number is less than 0, it's a negative number, you get 2 imaginary solutions. Okay, so be careful about your homework because some of your homework is going to say, just determine number of solutions. They're not going to say solve for the solutions. So don't do the extra work. Make sure you read what they ask of you because a lot of them will say, determine how many solutions and what type they are, and that's it, which means here's 3 problems here. All I care about is what is b squared minus 4ac. Well, b is negative 6, so I get negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 10, right? My a is 1, my b is negative 6, my c is 10. This becomes 36 minus 40 or negative 4. So this one has 2 imaginary solutions, right? It's negative 4. If that determinant is less than 0, 2 imaginary solutions, you're not supposed to tell me what the solutions are. You're just supposed to tell me how many. Let's look at the second example, x squared minus 6x plus 9. I'm going to put a 1 in front of it so you know that's your a. What is b squared minus 4ac? Well, this becomes negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. This is 36 minus 36, which is 0, which means I have 1 real solution. As soon as it equals 0, you get 1 real solution. And the last one here becomes b squared minus 4ac is negative 6 all squared minus 4 times 1 times 8. This becomes 36 minus 32, which is 4. This is a positive number. I get 2 real solutions, right? If my number is greater than 0, 2 real solutions, equal to 0, 1 real solution, less than 0, negative number, 2 imaginary solutions. A lot of you homework, I'm looking really fast to tell you what we're looking at. If you look at this, I'm trying to figure out where it says, yeah, from 56 to 64 in your homework, it just says, tell me what kind of solutions there are. So don't work extra if you don't need to. I think this is the only thing that I really wanted to work with you and remind you of. Everything else we'll do in class. And it's the last 2 sub-chapters are not hard. Our calculator works, so we should do great, I think. Try to come to class ready to pay attention. Don't zoom out on me so we can get this done. I hate that we have to do this over Zoom or whatever conference instead of in person, but I would rather you all be healthy than sick. We'll see you Tuesday or Wednesday.